Welcome, everyone, to today's podcast episode. You're listening to the Home Design Podcast. My name is Adam Case, your host, and we aim to educate, inspire, and connect South Florida with the industry authorities within their trade. Today, we're going to be talking about all things insulation. Do you know the differences in the different types of insulation and why it's so important for your home? Well, today we're going to find that out, all with Mario Munoz of FoamGenie. Mario, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited and looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So we're going to be talking about some of those things that are so important when it comes to the construction of your home, the livability of your home, and just the efficiency of your home. And it's all behind the walls, up in the attic. We're talking insulation today, right?
It's the best topic to talk about, particularly now. It's so hot outside. You know, just walking in here this morning, I felt it. And so it's something that we can all relate.
Absolutely. And we can all relate with air conditioning issues and how hard our systems work and just, having it cool down quickly or staying cool. But before we dive into all that, I want to learn a little bit about you, yourself, how long you've been with FoamGenie or in the industry itself. So let's lead off with you.
Yeah, so, I emigrated here from Cuba when I was 10 years old. Okay. And my parents had professional careers in Cuba. But when we came over, he became a construction person, as many immigrants do. And from that time, I've always been in a construction site. And I've always been involved in construction, whether it's picking up trash from a job site or helping my dad frame out a house. I've always been in the industry in one form or another. And I got into spray foam about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I was part of the team that began the startup here for the branch in Miami for FoamGenie. I trained with the guys in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So we have a team of people that have been in the industry for over 25 years that taught me all the ins and outs. And I became a licensed contractor as well here in South Florida. So we can
Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it. That's the short end of it, and I got into insulation while I was looking to change from traditional construction project management into, something a little different, a little more specialized and a little more, rinse, repeat.
Right.
So, and it's been very cool to get to specialize in something instead of always having your hands in so many buckets and being involved in so many different things, and really getting to know one subject and becoming an expert. I've really enjoyed that,
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, you just mentioned, so you got your contractor's license, and having all the information, knowing how a home is built, all the efficiencies, all the materials that go into a home, and why insulation is so important in the process of it. So that's what makes me so excited, because you've been in the industry, you've seen a lot of homes built from all different components, been a part of job sites, you have your license. But when we're talking the niche of insulation, let's first dive into, why is insulation so important?
Yeah, I think that it's something that's out of sight and out of mind, right? We don't speak about it a lot. And here in South Florida, we're in something called the weather region number 2. What that means is that we have some of the highest temperatures in the country and some of the highest humidity. And insulation is important because a house is a system. And as a system, it needs several different things to maintain the cool that's being produced by air conditioning, or maintain the heat that's being produced by your heater, depending on where you are. And so traditionally, we've approached insulation in a way that never closes that system.
Okay.
The building code has allowed for insulation to have a vented attic. So why is it important to think about insulation? Well, different things, right? So number one is your energy cost. You're going to spend a lot of money to cool down your house. It's hot outside.
Right.
Number 2 is moisture. Your air conditioning is fighting not just against the heat that's being produced by the exterior air, but also by the moisture that's being produced by the cold air inside your ducts that can produce condensation. And it's also important for comfortability, So repeat the question again, because I think I got off topic.
No, just why is it so important? The function of insulation, and there's different types of insulations. Just why is it important?
Yeah, so it's important to be comfortable and to get those energy bills down. So, the building code requires insulation through every part of your house.
Okay.
It requires R30 insulation on your roof, and it requires at least R5 on your walls. Okay. And insulation is important to make sure that your air conditioning system is not drawing too much power and working efficiently.
And you just mentioned the R value. I want to go over that because that's an important key point in the sense of, what does that even mean? Because there's different levels and things like that based on, where you're putting it.
Yeah, so R value is going to describe the amount of thermal resistance that the insulation is going to provide to whatever material is being applied to.
Okay.
Right. So we can have something as low as R5, that's required on your walls, and it can go up to R38, and then you can just start stacking stuff on top of each other to have infinite R value. But R value is basically what resistance does this insulation give to the temperature that's on one side versus the temperature inside of your house.
Okay.
And like I said, the building code requires R30, and the way that insulation provides R value is by trying to stop heat or cold from being transferred from one side to the other. Right. And traditionally, when we use fiberglass insulation, we'll have that insulation sitting on the floor of the attic. I brought this little diagram here to kind of help, but insulation traditionally sits on the floor of the attic, right? And when it's sitting down here, your attic is getting to 130, 125 degrees during the summertime. And then even R30 is trying to stop this heat from coming in. And spray foam goes on the top, so it works a little bit different and it creates a seal. And R value is important because you want to know what you're paying for and what you're getting.
Right.
The higher that number, the better it insulates. And it also reflects sound deadening capabilities. So the higher the R value is, the more sound dampening it's going to offer.
Okay, that's important because a lot of the materials that we're putting into the home, whether we're talking about obviously insulation in this case, there's windows and doors, there's all different things that there are different components, but insulation itself, it is going to prevent, when you're looking for soundproofing a room or creating those barriers, or obviously from the roof down, that's an important component. And obviously, we talk to all different types of professionals, home automation specialists, things like that. I mean, they're, doing high level insulation, our value to be able to, soundproof areas of homes. Also, so when talking about different types of insulation, there are different types. Let's hit on, what are the different options for somebody when they're looking into insulation, whether they're building a home or if they're remodeling or they know that they have inefficiencies.
Yeah. So if we talk about new construction, you're going to have several different options, right? So, and we'll start with walls. In your walls, you're going to have an R value rating that requires very, very small space, right? So you're going to have a concrete block, then you're going to have your framing, and then your sheetrock.
Right.
And usually here in South Florida, we have about an inch of space.
Right.
So we do R5 in a foil. It's a paper-backed foil that is reflective and allows for insulation. You can also do closed-cell spray foam on your exterior walls. That is a water-resistant material that provides 300% structural rigidity.
Okay.
And it gives you a higher R value. So instead of getting R5, you can get up to R7 with that 1 inch. Second, we're going to have cellulose insulation, which is traditionally sort of paper-based insulation, right?
Okay.
Cellulose means paper, and all that stuff gets shredded and thrown either in partitions or in your attic, and it's sprayed on. You need at least 10 inches of that stuff to give you R30. Second, we're going to have blow-in fiberglass insulation. That's loose fill fiberglass insulation. It also gets blown into the floor of your attic, which is technically your ceiling, and you need 10.5 inches of that minimum to get the R30 value that the state requires.
Okay.
And then your other option is spray foam insulation, which comes in two kinds. You have open cell spray foam insulation. That is an air barrier and slight weight. And you're going to need, for that product to be effective, you're going to be okay with 6 inches. That's about an R20 to R22 rating on average. The state of Florida does require R30, which, you're going to reach efficiency already with R20, but that's just the way the code is written right now. And that requires 8 inches. And then when you have closed cell spray foam, which to get R30, you need 4.5 inches of that stuff. Okay. And like I said, it's, it adds 300% racking strength to any roof that is added to. Okay. It's completely waterproof, so no more leaks, And also, we give a lifetime warranty on that one. So it's kind of set it and forget it. You use a product like ours and you never have to think about it again.
So question, because they're applied in different ways. When we're talking about spray foam, it's actually going onto the roof, the underlayment of the roof. Fiberglass, it's going onto the rafters, basically like, if it was the floor of the attic. What are the different components that goes into that as far as like one just better than the other? Obviously, you're talking about spray foam. It's insulating, it's weatherproofing, it's strengthening. Like there's so many different components. What home is the perfect candidate for spray foam versus fiberglass or any of these other types of options?
Yeah, look, the best option is always going to be spray foam.
Okay.
The home that is going to have to go with a blow-in fiberglass or cellulose application is one that is not undergoing a renovation that requires the ceiling to come down. It's a home that needs to be reinforced, right?
Okay.
It already has added insulation and maybe has a very shallow pitch. Okay. And if you have a very shallow pitch, that just sort of remains your only option. Today, more and more in new construction, we're seeing the utilization of unvented sealed attics because, again, the spray foam offers a product that doesn't need to be reinforced.
Okay.
Right? So if you're getting a product that has a lifetime warranty, once you set it, you never have to reinforce it. The other insulations, what happens is that gravity will squish them down over time. So the R value is determined by the height of that insulation. And so gravity and exposure brings them down and flattens them, and then you have to reinforce it. So the house that is a A perfect house for a blow-in insulation is a house with a low pitch attic that has very, very little access.
Okay.
And it needs to be serviced in that way. And then a house that's perfect for the spray foam is really going to be just any house that allows the applicators to get in there, or a new construction.
Okay.
Because you're applying a product that doesn't need to be reinforced, that doesn't need to be, sort of worked over and over.
And when talking about these different options, so, people are going to be limited naturally because of the type of home they have.
Yep.
But if we're looking at, if that's not a factor, let's look at the cost. Mm-hmm. Let's look at that. Does one cost more than another? I mean, what does one take longer? Is one, is there more of a process to one versus the other? Let's talk about cost and what that actual installation process looks like.
Absolutely. I mean, the cost is ultimately going to be the determining factor for most people.
Okay.
And the most inexpensive option is always going to be the blow-in fiberglass insulation.
Okay.
So I think in our market here, that's going to go anywhere between $1 to $1.25 a square foot for R30, 10.5 inches of blow-in insulation.
Okay.
That's always going to be the most cost-effective way to go. It's also the one you're going to have to reinforce the most because
Right.
it's loose fill, so it's going to be more affected by gravity and erosion. Sometimes wind can go into the soffit vents on the exterior of your house and push that stuff away.
Right.
And it could be sort of mismanaged around your attic.
How long does it last?
It lasts a long time.
Right.
I've gone up in attics and it looks like there's a corpse up there when it comes to insulation, But at least every 5 to 10 years, you need to recheck it to make sure that it's still doing its job.
Gotcha.
It's not going to last more than 10 years.
Okay.
Um,
So a lot of people are sitting there thinking, oh, my home's 20 years old. I haven't touched my insulation. I haven't even gone up there.
yeah, absolutely. And if you have an older home, it may not even have it to begin with.
Right. Okay.
So
because that wasn't part of code back then.
it just was not,
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other one is going to be batten insulation.
Okay.
So it's also fiberglass insulation. It comes in rolls and it has a paper backing on one side.
Gotcha.
That's normally used in new construction because you can imagine you're going in an attic.
Yeah.
It comes in a huge bag. You can't fit it through the access hole to the attic.
Right.
So usually for something that needs to be retrofitted, you're not going to use bats as much. That's normally more new construction. It can go stapled in between the rafters, stapled to exterior walls. And that's going to really depend on the R value.
Okay.
So it's going to cost you anywhere from $1.25 to $2 a square foot, depending on what R value you need.
Okay.
So on the higher end of that for the higher R values. And that's fiberglass, and then spray foam being your third option. What happens with spray foam is because it goes directly onto the roof and it creates that seal that I was talking about earlier that we can show in this diagram, right?
Yep.
It needs to create an absolute seal on the roof. We need to vacate all of the existing insulation in that attic. So there's a little extra cost associated with that. And that costs about $1 a square foot.
Okay.
To get it out of the house, to vacuum it out. R20 spray foam starts, I think industry average is about $2 a square foot.
Okay.
And then R30 industry average is about $275. Of course, all those prices fluctuate depending on material cost at the time and
Right.
stuff like that. And we can offer much better prices than those, but that's just the average that I know in our industry here in South Florida.
Okay.
Right. So spray foam is going to cost you double.
Okay.
Pretty much, right? So if we're thinking about
But it's forever.
it's forever and it saves you 30 to 40% of your energy cost.
That's incredible.
So the returns are almost immediate.
Right. That's really interesting because when you're looking at all the different things, when people are choosing for as far as what they should put in their home, I mean, they're looking at costs, they're looking at all the different values. Even though something might cost more, not only the return, but the longevity is something that really, I mean, it's literally set it, forget it, never have to look at it again. It's going to reinforce, strengthen your home. I'm thinking about, obviously, the blown in fiberglass to all the different components when you look at spray foam. So is there any negatives to spray foam? Because, attics also need to be ventilated. Is there anything that people should know, or are there different ventilation type of products that you guys install when this is done that's important, or is it really a non-worry because it is such an airtight barrier that it's all enforced?
That's a great question. We get it all the time, right? And we're used to walking around homes and seeing these goosenecks or vents or fans extracting out the hot air.
Right.
So what happens when you apply spray foam, and the thing that's kind of hard for all of us to imagine is that we are sealing the thermal envelope of a house.
Okay.
So if you think about a cooler, right? You're headed to the beach, you're going to put some beers in the cooler, you're throwing some ice in there, you close the lid.
Yep.
You've sealed the thermal envelope of that cooler. It's going to retain the cold that's being produced by the ice.
Okay.
So that is what spray foam does. Spray foam goes on the roof of your house, builds a barrier going down to your exterior walls and seals it, seals the thermal envelope and becomes part of the airspace of your house.
Okay.
So now the attic is another room in your house. You have an extra bedroom now. You have an extra office now. Your attic becomes part of your house. So if you create ventilation, if you get a vent think about getting that cooler that you put ice in and you have your beers in, and opening the cooler and letting in the hot air from the beach.
Right.
The ice will begin to melt. And that's what will happen if we ventilate an attic that has spray
That's
foam.
a good point.
We're going to allow hot air to come in, and we're
Right.
going to melt that ice. You're going to trap hot air, and you're going to trap in moisture, and now you have a problem. So per the Florida building code, if you have spray foam insulation in any attic, it needs to be unvented attic.
Okay. All right. So you actually
No
don't
vents.
want any air access, because also as you start thinking about it, okay, so if I completely seal off my entire attic, I have spray foam, not only am I going to have a stronger roof, the roof probably will last longer. But as far as any type of, I guess, how hard the systems might work as far as air conditioning, because when you think about it, the AC is working really hard to cool everything that's going through all of the different vents throughout the entire home. They're all in a hot space. They're all sweating. They're all going through the process. So it'll drastically drop how hard your air conditioning unit works, I assume. Does that like double the life of an air conditioning unit?
So well, I don't know.
Maybe
if it's
not
gonna
that
do-
much,
yeah,
but I
it's
mean,
gonna-
realistically, it should lengthen.
It should last longer,
Yeah.
right? And not only that, if you are, let's say, an engineer
Yep.
specking out the HVAC system, the mechanical system for a house, and you're looking at two different options. You're looking at a fiberglass option, you're looking at a spray foam option. The energy calculations will allow you to have a smaller AC unit in a house that has spray foam, because it doesn't have to work as hard.
Right.
The ducts are in a space that's going to be 5 to 10 degrees hotter than the house. So you think about setting the temperature in your house at 75 degrees. When it's 2 p.m., you go in your attic, it's double that temperature up there.
Right.
With spray foam, it'll be 5 to 10 degrees higher. For all intents and purposes, the same temperature as the house.
Right.
So, I mean, if we think about this rationally, all of the systems work less.
Right.
You know?
That's incredible. So when going through the process and going through everything as far as the selection, we're talking about, let's talk to the people who are building a new home. Maybe it's a home builder, maybe an architect, or a homeowner who's looking to do that. Let's go through all of the specifics for why it is so important, for spray foam. But we've already talked about, obviously, the strength, how it's going to lower everything. Like, what does it look like, and why is it so important for new construction homes where it should be the only option?
Yeah. I mean, it's so important for new construction homes, particularly down here in South Florida, because we are looking at changes in the design of construction.
Right.
The traditional home is changing. We have a lot more flat roofs now. All the modern homes have a different look. And and I have a little diagram here of what a modern house looks like, right?
Okay.
So
yeah, because we're talking about flat roofs and things like that. It's different. I mean, there might not be attic space.
No more attic space.
Right.
So if you have a modern house where you have a flat roof and there's going to be no more attic, how are you going to reinforce the insulation in your house?
Right.
If you opt for fiberglass insulation, what does that mean? It means taking down drywall on the ceiling to change your insulation when it's affected by gravity.
Right.
Versus something like spray foam, set it, forget it, lifetime warranty. You don't have to worry about it again.
Right.
So it allows for new construction to be approached in a new way.
Okay.
You can, if you choose spray foam insulation, you don't have to worry about there being an access for that to be changed in the future.
Right.
So you can really, you can design things however you like, because now needing that space for the fiberglass to sit there is no longer a problem.
Absolutely. So especially modern homes, because these flat roofs are not anything new. Like, they've been doing this for years.
Mm-hmm.
So even in commercial spaces, what are they doing in commercial spaces where there's offices and things like that? Are a lot of commercial buildings putting in spray foam?
So we're seeing it a lot. So look, commercial buildings are going to have normally a TPO roof, which will bring some sort of membrane or polyiso foam board on the top that has insulation. But we are seeing it a lot in shops where, men and women are working out in the elements with doors open. And it helps not just to keep the heat out, but to help with sound.
Right.
So spray foam insulation has the highest sound rating of any other insulation out there. It beats mineral wool, which was the traditional way that you would insulate for sound.
Right.
So for commercial spaces, it's important to insulate against, whatever is happening outside, but also what's happening inside. We're shooting a podcast right now, but there's offices all around us.
Right.
And I've been into buildings where confidentiality is extremely important.
Right.
Right. So when you're speaking about doctors' offices, psychiatrists, places where important information is being shared that cannot leave a space, you need to think about insulation.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. And also, when you're looking at all of this and looking at, there's the cost, there's the process, there's everything. It's not just the efficiency and all of those components. Those are key components as far as everything, but also like emissions and the quality of the product that you're putting in and pollutants and things like that. Let's talk about that, because when people are looking at eco-friendly and just being more green, spray foam is a great solution for that as well.
Yeah, it's an absolutely green material, and actually our material is called Eco CCS, or
Okay.
close it and open cell have Eco in front of it.
All right.
Because number one, it's going to reduce your draw from the grid,
Okay.
right? And you're not breathing in fiberglass anymore. It's not ideal to have fiberglass directly above your house and for you and your pets and your loved ones to be breathing it, right?
Right.
And I think that although there is a fear out there of installing spray foam insulation because people think, there's these chemicals going into a roof, it's all going through thorough testing. And if we follow the guidelines, which is, stay out of the house while we're spraying, everything is going to be okay.
Right. So when, if I'm looking for spray foam or if I'm looking for insulation, talking about spray foam specifically, is there one type of spray foam that's better than another? I mean, obviously there's all different types of brands, but what should somebody know to ask to know what type of spray foam is going into their home and whether or not that's what they should have? Is there, what should people know when they're hiring a contractor?
Yeah, I think the most important question that you need to ask is, are you doing open cell or closed cell? Because that's going to drive the price, right? Okay. And also, who is the manufacturer? There's tons of people manufacturing this out here. And, the applicator, the company that's coming out to apply that foam can get those materials from anywhere,
right?
And insulation has not traditionally been a very sort of rigorously tested
right.
sort of area,
right.
And that's where spray foam Genie has sort of taken it above and beyond. So if you look, it says Rhino linings here in my
Yep.
shirt. So
Yep.
Rhino linings got, I think, famous in my eyes because they used to make this product that was sprayed on the back of pickup trucks, and they made this like rugged cover on the back of the beds of pickup trucks, and they are our only material supplier.
Gotcha.
So they have a factory east of Dallas, Texas. They produce all of our material. So for example, if I show up to a job, I input my customer's number into the software of my rig, of my equipment, and in that input where I'm putting all the data, I'm going to put the serial number for the barrel that I'm using,
okay,
the date that it expires and the date that it came out of the factory. So I've got accountability from the manufacturer, where those materials came from, all the way to installation.
Okay.
So a good question is, where are your materials coming from? When is the expiration date?
Right.
And what warranty does the manufacturer offer? Because usually most of these things are warranted by the manufacturer. And for us, that's something that we take extremely serious, the accountability part, because in spray foam and in any insulation, because the state and the federal government really are kind of loose with the regulations, you don't know what's taking place in your house.
Right.
And what we offer also with the lifetime warranty is that we have systems in place to guarantee mixture, temperature, and ratio.
Okay.
So a very important question to an applicator that's going into your home to apply spray foam. How can you guarantee that the mixture of these two chemicals that are creating a chemical reaction that creates the expansion of that foam is correctly mixed? How do you monitor that?
Right.
And for us, we have something called an ACE report, and that's how I warranty my product. We have a third-party company that runs a report on each job that we do. And so my equipment with the machines and technology that we have in place, I monitor my mix ratio on site, millisecond by millisecond. And if our mixture, if it drops below 99%, mixture level, it'll stop the equipment. And the guys cannot spray bad foam.
Gotcha.
So that's a good question to ask. Hey, how do you guarantee that you're not spraying bad foam?
Right.
How do you get that mixture to stay in near perfection at all times?
Because I'm sure there's other companies out there that aren't using the same type of equipment to be able to spray the foam and be able to really monitor these types of components, nor would a homeowner ever know to even ask that question.
No, it's a very important question because the machines that you use traditionally, all they're doing is mixing the product and getting it to a temperature.
Right.
So that's another good question. And I think it's very technical, right? We're getting a little deep in here, but what temperature are you applying this? We apply at around 120 degrees, right? So if those temperatures or pressures, the gun is about 1,000 PSI is coming out of that gun. So if any of those things are reacting with the external temperature and humidity in any way, it can affect the foam. So how are they monitoring that?
Right. Absolutely. And just hiring the company, is there anything else? Is there any red flags that someone should be aware of? Like is there a question they should ask that would indicate a red flag or not, that, they know that they're hiring the right professional? Because, there's a lot of companies that do this. There's a lot of companies that offer different solutions. There's a lot of great companies out there. There's a lot that are not. For you guys have kind of, positioned yourselves as that authority figure, as the brand that it's not just here in South Florida. I mean, you guys are across the country. What should people be asking where there might be a red flag? I mean, is it, licensed, insured? I mean, what is What is an indicator for that?
Yeah, look, in a lot of places, installation is completely unregulated.
Right.
So people will be able to come to your house without a installation contractor license and apply installation. So number one question I would ask is, can you provide an installation certificate?
Okay.
An installation certificate is something that everyone should be receiving after they apply installation.
Okay.
And that certificate, it will have the contractor's license. It'll have the exact application of installation that took place in your home, and it'll be certified. Okay. So for example, new construction, a contractor needs installation. You would go and apply it and then provide that certificate.
Okay.
And every homeowner should have that as well.
All right.
Number two, what kind of warranty do you offer? And then number three, what thickness will you be applying? Because people will put on an estimate, I'll be applying R30 open cell spray foam insulation, and they'll spray something in your attic, and you don't know if it should be 4 inches, 12. You don't know.
Right.
And a great question is, how are you checking for that depth? How are you making sure that it's really that thick?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, because I guess the certificate itself is what's keeping the industry honest in that sense, because that will indicate everything that they did based on what was purchased.
Yeah. So in the new construction process, there is inspections for pretty much everything.
Right.
There's going to be an installation inspection.
Right.
So an inspector will come out, they'll look at that certificate, make sure that the license is valid, and they'll use a checker to check the depth of all of the installation to make sure that you've actually applied what you say you did on that certificate. So it does keep you accountable and honest.
Is this something that people need a permit for?
Installation is not permitted work.
Okay.
Even during new construction, after you apply it, all you need to do is have an inspection.
Gotcha.
Homeowners do not need to have their installation inspected. It's not something that ever takes place. That's why you may buy a house and then you'll pop in the attic and be like, oh my God, there is no installation up there, because it's not something that's regularly inspected for.
Right. So we've talked about a lot of different things when it comes to installation, all the different types, all the R levels. Is there anything that we haven't spoken on that you feel that is really important for our listeners?
Yeah, man. What I think is really important is the warranty thing. You know, you're spending a lot of money on this stuff. When you consider, as a homeowner, removal of your existing installation at $1 a square foot, the application of spray from over $2 a square foot. Right. You have a 1,500 square foot house. You can do the math. You multiply times 3, it adds up. Right.
Absolutely.
If you're spending all of this money, how do we know it's going to last? Right. And that's sort of what we've done to help the homeowner. Right. So I spoke earlier about this third-party company that runs that report, and we're offering a lifetime warranty. So to every job that we do, we provide this ACE report, and it basically shows the temperatures, the pressures, all that geeky stuff, to make sure that it was applied correctly. And if it was, and there's ever an issue with that installation, the manufacturer will replace that material. Okay. Lifetime warranty. In addition, that warranty is transferable once for 10 years. Okay. So if you own a house, you call FoamGenie. We do spray foam installation on your house. Right. And then you sell it. Most homes are resold within 7 years of being bought, right? Exactly. You resell it, the new owner, that's a selling point. Hey, here's a lifetime warranty on this thing. Right. You buy this house and it's warranted as long as you live here. Right. So I think that that's something that I really wanted to showcase and sort of let people know we've taken the steps to make sure that it's applied correctly, but also that you're protected for the rest of your life. Right. Because we know that it's a huge investment. And we want to make sure that you stay comfortable for a long time. Yeah. And that's just how sure you guys are and how effective and how you guys do your work. Because a lot of companies that don't offer that, there's really no reason not to if you do it right. Yeah, I mean, holding yourself accountable is something that I believe in as a core principle. In any job that I've ever done, I love to be accountable, and I love keeping my side of the street clean because it lets me go to sleep at night soundly. Anything we can do to guarantee that, it's always good for everybody. So question, because I'm thinking about this, and as you're talking, there's all different things. If something is retrofit, it's an older home, you have attic space, do you have to remove the fiberglass, or can you just go in and spray because you're sealing, obviously, the roof structure? Yeah, 100%. Any existing insulation needs to be removed, and that's for 2 reasons. I'm trying to create a seal in this airspace. So if you think of like loosely filled insulation, and I spoke about the gun spraying the spray from at 1,000 PSI, it's coming out of there with a lot of pressure. Right. And as it does that, air is also coming out, and all this loose fill insulation will just start flying through the attic. Gotcha. That makes sense. And here's the diagram. So this little squiggly line is the spray foam. As you can see, it needs to connect to the exterior walls. Right. If the blow-in insulation gets mixed with that insulation, I will not be able to create a seal. And then we're going to have that effect that I spoke about the hot air getting in and us creating a Yeti mug with coffee in it versus having a cooler. So that's issue number one. That's a good point. I need to create an air seal, and it won't allow me. And number 2 is if I do seal that attic, it's no longer breathing with the exterior. Now you're breathing fiberglass. You're breathing cellulose that's been in your attic for decades. Right. And things go in your attic. They make a life up there. They make nests up there. They make babies up there. I'm sure you found a lot of interesting things. and there's dead stuff up there. You don't
Right.
want to be breathing that in those smells to become part of your house.
Right.
So those
Absolutely.
are the two main reasons.
That's a great point. So anything else that we should touch on today?
No, I mean, we covered a lot. I'm really grateful to be here. I think that everyone should go ahead and pop open that access attic in their house. They should look above. If you see the rafters, you do not have enough insulation, because typically your house has 2x4s when they build the framings. And if you can see those 2x4s, you need to call somebody and get your insulation checked. You're spending too much money on energy bills.
I'm afraid to look up in mine. But for anyone that wants to reach out to you guys and contact you, how should they do that?
Absolutely. You can look us up on Instagram, Spray from Genie or Spray from Genie Greater Miami. You can also call us 786-696-7190. We have a general email for all of our branches, and we'd love to help any way we can.
Awesome. Well, Mario, it was awesome having you here today. We learned a lot. Everybody's going to be going up in their attics today when they get home from work, but it is so important because efficiency goes so much further than just having the right systems in place, meaning, all the mechanicals. You have to be insulated. You have to have the right products installed up in your attic. It all starts there in between your walls. But for all of you, thank you for listening today. The Home Design and Remodeling Show is Florida's premier destination for everything home design and home improvement. Visit the next home shows in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach. You can always go to our website at homeshows.com. Follow us at FL Home Shows. So make sure you subscribe to our channel, get all of the latest in home design and home improvement. But until next time, stay tuned for the next episode.